All right, guys, so this is the music player project that we're going to be building. So we're not going to do the HTML and CSS. That's already done. We'll take a look at it, but I don't want to waste time doing that. I want to make this function. So basically, we have 3 different songs that are in the music folder. And when we press play, what's going to happen is the cover image here will start to spin, and we'll also have an animation of the song title pop up. So I'm going to just press play. Not only that, but you see there's a progress bar as well, and I can click in that progress bar and go to that point. All right, so pretty cool. If we go to the next song, it'll start to play, and once one song finishes, it'll automatically go to the next song. So there's the summer song. That's the one we dealt with in the last video. If I click again, if I click forward again, then it goes back to the beginning. So there's 3 songs, but of course you could add more to that. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be building. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so what I've done is just got rid of all the JavaScript. So you can see in our music player folder, we have an empty script.js. And then I'm going to go over this other stuff with you. So the music that you want this to play, you're going to put in the music folder, and you're going to have a folder called images for the covers of those songs, of those audio files, and you want to name them the same thing. So we have hey.mp3, that's going to apply to hey.jpg. All right. And then if we look at our HTML, we're bringing in font awesome because that's what we're using for these icons. And then we have a style sheet. We have our empty script.js. Everything is wrapped in this music container class. And the animation, which is the rotating image and then the little pop-up that shows the title and progress bar, to get that to animate, we simply add a class of play to the container. If I do that, you'll see this pops up and then this starts spinning. Because if we look in our CSS, and we look at let's see, the image container right here has an animation of rotate, which is this keyframe, just rotates at 360 degrees. It's paused by default, but when the play class is there, then it starts running. So that's how that happens. All right, and if we look down here, so the music info, right here, music info, that's the pop-up with the title and stuff. So when that has the play class, it's going to translate on the y-axis and come up 100%. All right, so that's all we have to do in our JavaScript is enable that class for this to start spinning and the animated pop-up. All right, then we have our music info. Again, that's the one that's hidden. That has the title and the progress bar. We have our audio tag. I'm just preloading the ukulele MP3. Then we have the image container, which is this right here, the cover, and then our navigation with our buttons. So pretty simple. All right, now let's go into our script.js, and the first thing we want to do is just start to bring everything in. So we want the container. Remember, that's where we want to put the play class to animate it. So let's say document.getElementById, and has an ID of music container. Okay, and then I'm just going to copy this down a bunch of times, and then we want our play button. So that has an ID of play, and we're going to call that play btn. Then we have our prev btn, so to go to the next song, and that has an ID of prev. Then we have next. So next, and we'll call this variable next btn. Then we have our audio tag. Of course, we want to bring that in, our audio element. Then we have our progress. So progress, and then we also want the progress container. So let's say progress container, and this is going to be progress dash container. And then we just have 2 more things. We have the title of the song, And then we have the cover, which is the image. Okay, so that should do it as far as bringing in what we need. So now what we'll do is create an array of our song titles. So we'll call this songs, and we have Hey, Summer, and Ukulele. Okay, so those are our song names. Let's just put a comment here. Song titles. And then we need to keep track, say keep track of song, of whatever song's playing. So we're going to use let here and say song index. That will be reassigned, so make sure you use let. I'm going to set it to 2 by default, which is going to be ukulele, so 0, 1, 2. All right, and then we need to initially, we'll say initially load song details, including the image, the name, and the actual audio. So we're going to have a function called load song, and we're going to pass in here the songs array, and in here will be the song index, which is 2 by default to start with. All right, and then let's create our function load song, which takes in a song. And 3 things we want to do here. We want to update the title, so we'll say title inner text and set that to song. We want to add the source to the audio element, so audio source, and that needs to just go to whatever the location of the song is, which is going to be in the music folder / and then whatever the song name, and then .mp3. All right, and then we just want to do the same thing with the images, except this will be a JPEG, and it will be in the images folder, and it's going to be the cover source, okay, because the cover is the image that we brought in. So if I save that, we're still going to see ukulele here. That was the default in the HTML, but if I were to change song index to 1, now you'll see that the image changed, the title changed as well, but it's hidden behind here. But we're going to just keep that at 2. So we're loading the song, the initial song, and we want to be able to play it. So let's come down here and let's say play BTN, and we're going to add an event listener. We're going to listen for a click event. When that happens, we're going to have a function. Now, here we have to decide if we're playing it or are we pausing it, because it's the same button, right? When we play, this will get turned to pause, and then if we pause, this will get turned back to play. So in here, we're going to check to see if it's playing. So we'll say const is playing, and we're going to do that by seeing if the class of play is on the music container. Because when we play, remember that music container class, or this div I should say, will have a class of play. So we want to check for that. So let's say music container class list dot contains. So we're seeing if the class list contains a class of play. If it's true, then that means it's playing, right? So here we can say if is playing, then we want to call pause song, right? Because obviously if it's playing and we click the button, then we want to pause it. Else, if it's not playing, then we want to play it. So we'll have a function called play song. So now we need to create these 2 functions. So let's go up here under load song, and we'll say function play song. And we're going to do a couple things here. First off, we're going to take the music container and add the class of play. Okay, so class list dot add, and we want to add the class of play. Then we also want to change the play button to the pause. We want to remove the play and add pause here. So let's say play BTN, and we want to do query selector, and we're going to select the icon. So it's going to be the I tag with the class of FAS, so font awesome. And then we're going to do class list dot remove, because we want to first remove the play icon. So we're removing FA-play, that's the font awesome play icon class. Then we want to add So let's say class list dot add, and we're going to add the pause. So fa dash pause. And then finally, of course, we want to play the song. So we're going to say audio dot and then the play method. So if I save that, now I can't pause it. It doesn't. I have to reload it to stop because we haven't created the pause yet. So now let's copy this and let's say pause song. And we want to then remove the class of play. Basically just going to revert all this. Remove play. We want to then add, let's see, we want a class. Let's actually just move this up and we'll say we want to add FA pause. I'm sorry, FA play, because we are in pause mode. So now we want the play and we want to remove pause. Okay, and then to pause the actual song, we just call pause. So now we should be able to play and pause. So this starts animating and this goes up and down because of the adding and removing the play class onto the music container. We also see that the Font Awesome icon changes, and also, of course, the audio plays and pauses. All right, so now we want to do the previous and next buttons. So we want to have another event listener down here. Let's do prev btn. And we want to add an event listener. We're going to listen for a click. And when that happens, we're going to call prev song. And we might as well add the next as well. So we'll also have a function called next song. And that's going to be on the next button. Okay, so now let's go back up here under pause. And let's say function. And we'll call it, well, yeah, it's called prev song. Now we have to change the song index. Remember, we started up here. We have a song index that's equal to 2. So we just want to, if we're going backwards, we want to decrement. So we're going to say song index minus minus. That's going to take 1 away from it. All right. And then if we're at the beginning, if we're at the first song and we press previous, we want to go to the last song. Okay. We don't want it to just do nothing. So we'll put an if statement here. And we'll say if the song index is less than 0, okay, because remember 0 is the first in the array right here. But if it's less than 0, if we go back, we want it to go to the last song. So in here, let's say then the song index is going to then equal the songs.length, so the length of the array minus 1. Because arrays are 0 base. So we want the whole entire length, which would be 3, but we want to minus 1 because arrays are 0 based. All right, then we want to load the song. So load song. And we want to pass in here now the songs array and the song index, which we just decrement. Okay, then we want to play the song. So we're just reusing our functions here. Now for the next song, it's going to be pretty similar. So I'm just going to copy this. Then we're going to go right underneath, paste it in, and change this to next song. And we want to increment the index now because we're going forward. And then if we're at the end song and we click next, we want to go back to the beginning song. So I'm going to say if song index is greater than the last song, which is songs.length minus 1. All right, so if we are on the last and we click next, then we want the song index to go back to the beginning, so it's going to go back to 0. So let's save that, and then so see how it went back to the beginning. Now if I go previous, I can just keep going and it'll just keep looping. All right, so now we can change the song, we can play, we can pause. Now we want to do the progress bar. So as you can see, when I play, the progress bar isn't doing anything. You can barely see it because it's white. So we're going to hook into the time update event, which we looked at in the last video. So let's put an event listener on our audio. So add event listener, and that will fire off time update every time the time updates. And when that happens, we're going to call a function called update progress, because we want to update our progress bar to show how much of the song has played. All right, so let's let's go back up here, and we'll put this right under, let's just go right under next song. So right here, because I want to kind of keep the event listeners down below. So function update progress, and we're going to pass in the event object here. Now e.source element, that's going to give me the source element, which is the audio element. And I want to get from that, I'm going to destructure from that the duration of the audio of the song and the current time. So duration is obviously the entire time the song takes, and then the current time is that specific point we're at, because we need to get the percentage of how much of the song is done, because that's what we set the progress bar width to. So let's say const progress percent, or percentage, or percent, and then we'll set that to, let's say, the current time divided by the duration, and then we want to just multiply that by 100. So that should give us the percentage. Then we can take our progress bar and set the style of the width, and we can set that to, let's use backticks here, because we need to add on a percent afterwards. But in here, let's say, whoops, that should be a money sign. So this will be our progress percent. All right, so let's try that out. We'll go ahead and play. And you can see that it's filling up. Now I want to be able to click inside of it and go to that position. Right now I can't. So to do that, we're going to add another event listener onto the progress container. So let's say progress container, add event listener, and we're going to want to listen for a click, okay, because when we click on the progress bar, then we're going to call set progress. Okay, so we'll come back up here and let's add function set progress, and let's pass in our event object, and we're going to say const width, and I'm going to use the this keyword here and say this dot client width, and this, in this case, it just refers to the element that we called the event on. So we're getting the client width, and then we want the offset, so click, or the X offset I should say. So let's say const click, we'll call this click X, because where we're clicking on the offset, set that to e dot offset X. All right, then we want to say duration, so const duration is equal to whatever that audio dot duration is, audio dot duration. Okay, and then we want to set the audio current time, so we're setting it to a certain point, and we get that by taking the click X, so wherever we click, divided by the width, and then multiplied by the duration. And that should give us what we want. So now if I play and I click on a certain spot, it takes me to that spot. All right, so that's it. That's it. So I think it's a pretty cool looking music player, and hopefully this gives you guys an idea of how you can create your own audio interfaces.